If you're wondering how to get a $50,000 business credit card and line of credit without documents, this is the right video for you. Hi, welcome in. This is Michael with Viral Funding Solutions. I'm a business funding expert, business loan broker expert, as well as pre-underwriter/underwriter who's been able to gratefully and thankfully help out a lot of people acquire the right type of personal and or business credit, as well as different funding options with revenue backed. There's credit, cash flow through revenue backed, collateral, liquidity, equity, and by other means. So let me get right into things. I won't take up too much of your energy and time. We'll get out of here as quickly as possible. So there's processes to doing this. There's the foundation, which is making sure you have the formation of the business done correctly. What type of entity will you be structuring it under? What will you be operating as? Is it an LLC, S Corp, C Corp? Is it a sole proprietorship? What do you have? What's the formation of it? What has been filed? What hasn't been? Do you have a business email address? That's professional. Business address, phone number. Are you listed in the directories? Do you have a website? Do you have a social media presence? That is very helpful to have amongst a few other things. So I won't go into the specifics of forming that all together, but having the foundational elements is very helpful, whether you do this online and apply for a $50K business credit card, or multiple at once or over time, or you go in person. So it's very important to have this information. I'll try to come back to this at the end. But to get, let's say, a $50,000 business credit card, it's not always as simple as saying you're going to be able to do it only with one card. I always recommend trying to have different accounts from different banking institutions, top tier, regional, and or community based. I normally want to work with the top tier banks first because they'll want to issue as much. And if you already have the relationship, and you already have an account open with them, that's even better. And that's a lot of the times what they will want. It's a lot of the times relationship based, with a lot of these banks. And then working backwards from that, sometimes you start with a community because that's your only option, or you're going to start there and then work your way up. But you have to be cautious because of inquiries. So to get a $50,000 card, it'll be different for each person depending on what you already have on your credit report and reports, comparable credit, the amount that they want to issue, if 2 to 3 times the amount from your personal to the business side, and what institutions to go after. But formally, or generally I should say, what we're looking at and what they're looking at is you want to have at least a 700 plus FICO credit score is what they're going to be looking at. That or higher, preferably more, above 720, above 725 plus. Have at least 2 credit cards, and we can be speaking about on the personal side because of comparable credit. What they're going to be looking at is your highest, your lowest limits, the total, the average, and looking at the highest a lot of the times and basing it off of that and some other numbers as well, the amount of accounts, the aged history, and stuff like that. So 2 credit cards that have been open for at least 1 year, preferably 2+ years, 2 revolving accounts open for 2+ years, and it's aged, which is good. It's better to have 4+ in this market, but that's a good starting point. And the minimum that I always recommend on each one of these cards, people will ask me, is at least $5,000 on each. A principal of at least $5,000 on both, totaling $10,000. Again, that's spread out over 2 cards of a minimum of at least $5,000 each. It doesn't have to be just $5,000 each. It could be more. The more the better, the more the merrier. And so 10,000, but preferably if you have closer to 20 to 30K, even just 15K and above, and another card maybe you have 10 to 20K, that is just as helpful, because what a lot of these institutions want to look at is comparable credit. What's your highest, what's your lowest, what's the total for how much age, but also the payment history, the frequency, the balances, the utilization, and things like these. There's a lot more things that go into it, and I help out people with this. By the way, if you do need help with getting business credit cards, and not just one, but multiple, there's a specific service for credit card stacking. That is what is known as. And this is where we go on your behalf and put out applications and do it with multiple card issuers from different banks, or it could be the same one if they can do more than one at a time, or one every 5 days, one every 30 days. We repeat the process and remove the hard inquiries that are not attached to your personal account in those lines. So that can then be removed, and then rinse and repeat the process depending on how much time we come back, and then do that again. That's different for each person as well. So if you'd like to get multiple cards at 0% interest for 6 to 18 plus months without documents, this is the way to go for convenience, energy, and time. You just don't have that. You're in real estate, or you're a small business owner in a specific field, and you're like, I just don't have the convenience of doing that, and I just want somebody to help me. And you don't want to make the mistakes. You want to understand how to liquidate the cash out of these, the processor, and you want those leverage relationships. This is a great way to go, and understanding what bureaus you're going to be pulling from. A lot of people don't understand that. Things change, regional. You might not be open to one. You go to the wrong bank. You should have gone to this one instead. There's a lot of little things, and that can be the major difference between you having enough money and getting enough ROI from it. Maybe there's a period where you're not making enough, but then you get to that point and you're like, well, I wish I would have had more funds. So if you need help with that, I'll leave more information down below in the description how to get started, as well as there will be a questionnaire form. I'll try to get to that at the end of this video. So that's a bit of that part of the process when it comes to the credit score, and then also the cards. The more you have, the better. The higher amount because of comparable credit, trying to match what's on your personal to your business, but also 2 to 3x or more the amount that could be pushed into getting a business credit card by itself, or more than one. So I always recommend, if you're closer to 50K, even better. The odds are higher, and the odds of getting more than 50K are even there, especially if you have a relationship manager. You don't always have to have a relationship banking manager and going physically to the bank. It's helpful. There's times where that's best, but it's not always as necessary. So another thing too is you don't want to have more than 2 to 3 inquiries per bureau in the last 6 months, preferably. That's reasonable within that time frame. And other times you might see that you don't want to have more than 4 inquiries in the last 12 months, specifically when credit stacking. And each person is a little bit different in what they're trying to gear things towards, but that's a place to put it at. But no more than 2 to 3 inquiries in the last 6 months. You don't want to exceed 3 normally. Another thing too is having less than 15% utilization, or 15% and under 10% even better. Under 20%, there are still some capabilities there, and that's what a lot of the banks are looking for. Do you have underneath 20%? If you have underneath 15%, even better, get issued more, and you have more flexibility with that. Another portion of this is understanding that there are higher utilizations on different revolving accounts. And sometimes you might see where you don't want to have more than 30% or 40 or 45% in total. And it depends on the bureau they're going to be pulling from. But for each individual personal revolving account, you want to ideally have under 20, under 15% of it right there. So there's the utilization. There we also just went into some of the inquiries. Now, late payments, you don't want to have any of them, or no more than 2 in the last 7 years. A lot of banks are going to look at that. But you don't want to have any late payments in the last 2 years. That's going to really just crush everything, especially on the credit stacking side. Any missed late payment, no matter if you paid it, no matter how small it is, how recent it is, that's even worse. It's like you missed a low payment, that still looks really bad. Like if you missed a low payment, just imagine what would happen if, but it may not. The thing is that the lender or the person who's going to issue you the credit, the company too, is not going to take that risk. It's too high of a risk. And you could have been paid off. You could have had it called. You could have called in and had it removed, or in a different part of the process you did it. So that's very hard to overcome. And the inquiries, a lot of people are having troubles with right now, having too many in a month, having too many in a year. And so what you also have to understand is there's credit repair out there. And if you guys don't want to do it on your own, I help out a lot of people with this too. So for another example is if you have too many inquiries, over 4, over 3 in the last 6 to 12 months, I would get on that. And if these are hard inquiries where they are not supposed to be attached to any personal accounts, let's say you got approved for one, for a business card, but it got attached to a personal account that shouldn't have been, I mean, that could be something that could be disputed because it shouldn't be there. Another thing too is if you got declined for credit cards or for other reasons, auto loans and things like that, and you weren't approved, there might be a process there too, where it usually is a process where we can look at removing those hard inquiries, and it'll look better for you when you're ready to go get credit. So there's a few instances there. And if you need help with credit repair, I'll leave more information in the description. So that's a bit about it. No late payments, no collections, no Be careful of your public records on what's showing there. A bankruptcy, you don't want to have anything showing on your credit reports at all. There's a few other things there too that we can go over, but I think I'm going to leave it at that. Charge-offs as well, take care of that. You don't want that either. But that's ideally it. There are a few other things too in general that many banks will look at, but that for the most part is a huge amount of it. Another thing too is you might again need to get multiple cards. It might not just be one card, and that's what you have to face. I'm not going to get into the exact cards to go after in this video. I'll try to leave more content down below, and then I can also help you out and see what's best based upon your credit. I reviewed a lot of credit reports. I do that quite a bit still to this day. I review a lot of bank statements, tax returns, and more, depending on the funding scenario. I'm very analytical and the cerebral type. I'll get into that a little bit later. Business lines of credit, ideally over 700, but more so 720 plus credit that's what a lot of them are looking for. Have an LLC, usually seasoned, 2+ years. Anything underneath 2 years, it's kind of hard to get. And if it is, it's very minimal or they're going to pull away from. So I always recommend starting off with under 2 years, you have business credit cards, and then 2 years and above, try to get a line of credit without documents or low documents, low to medium. Once you pass 50,000, a lot of the times you're going to ask for medium to high documents, especially at 100K and above. So there's a few things there. No more than 3 inquiries in the last 6 months. That's also another thing that they're going to look at. Okay, so that's quite a bit of information there. I can go on this subject for much longer and go over lines of credit and different credit cards to go after. I have my favorites, which are the Ink cards from Chase. But if you had to get one from Chase, you had to get one from Bank of America. There's a US bank. What I would recommend is starting off with personal credit cards. Have at least a $10,000 limit on at least one of those cards, or in combined, but usually have at least a card with 10,000 and above, because that'll look better when you're then going to go get a business credit card. They're going to try to do and match that, or try to do 2 to 3x and much more than that as well at times. And if you have the relationship established, that's even better. It's all about relationships. And even if you don't have that much of an established relationship, or they're exactly looking for that, there's other locations, but it isn't always given. It's not always the best thing to do. So I think that's where I want to leave it at. I am the analytical, cerebral, more introverted type. I'm a Libra, if that says anything. I'm very loyal. I value that a lot. Integrity, commitment, fitness, you could say. I value people. I value honesty, trustworthiness. I don't take that lightly. There's a lot more. I have a very clear vision and mission as a person and what I want to help you guys do in business. So for me, it's a lot about yourself as a person, your health, your relationships come first. And then to me, it's your business. That's how I look at it. And I've worked on myself. I've never been like bad. It's just I have developed the whole personal development thing. I'm not a guru, but in business, you need to have that and have the right habits, the right routine, nutrition. When you have to have it, there's going to be cheat days, but then your mentality, it's strong, and you're going to be in this persistently and consistently. Nothing's going to bring you down. There's going to be failures or mistakes along the way, but make them, learn from them, and grow from them, and then get better, and then improve yourself in your health, as in your stress, spiritually, what you're feeling, what you're going through on an emotional level, physical level, and many other ways. And then also combining your relationships that I've helped out people with as well, and what people are currently going through. There's a lot of transitions and a lot of people going through hardships as transitions as in marriage and in other ways. And so it's hard and difficult. So that's where I'm going to leave it at. Oh, one other thing. I have other businesses, one in the digital marketing agency, lead generation space, one in the health affiliate marketing space, other verticals in the affiliate space. I have other ventures, and then this has been my primary focus as a business funding expert. I've seen the differences made in yourself as a person, and then you affecting your own clientele, your own employees, and your own customers, and the faces on what I see from a lot of people, and then the feedback, and seeing that you've made a difference, and the person who's consumed your products and services, the differences that it has made to them, and then the economy that you're in, small or large economy, and then your community. I see the difference that makes, and you're the driving force a lot of this economy. And I have had my own struggles back then, having to fund them and understanding what revenue range is, and the mistakes coming with a lot of going to the wrong person, going into somebody who was over-promising and under-delivering, not going into the right place. There's a lot of bad information out there, so you have to be cautious of that. I studied, went to school, I did that with then getting into chemical engineering and then going into the business space. I had to make a big decision. That was tough. And then have worked in construction, manufacturing, in the field before I got into anything in the cubicle space, financial logistics later on, did warehousing, rampaging, younger 20s, financial logistics, company went down under. I had to go back on unemployment benefits, food stamp cards, not a good feeling. But I was building something at the time, and it just takes effort, the right attitude and the right effort. So that's everything from me. All information will be down below in the description. If you found value from this, please give it a thumbs up and share it with others who you feel will find value from it. If you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe and click that bell notification icon so you do not miss any future content I will be coming out with. That is all for now. Take care.